your hands on top of your head.
Well, I didn't.
Now!
Here comes the jam, getting down with the truth, the only way he knows how to. Girls all up with his name, we call him the chief. You're damn right, he's gonna get that sucker. Yo, we track down the truth, you know what, I track down the truth, you know. And what do they call him? We call him the chief. You're damn right we do.
I'll bet your mother had a loud bark.
Good morning. Welcome back to Morning with Coffee with the Chief. We are a little late today. Sorry about that. We got into a discussion about politics. You know how politics can get us going. Now, today we got a great movie we're going to do. It's called In the Electric Mist with Tommy Lee Jones. And it's got a lot of upbeat themes. It's got alcoholism, serial killer of women. It's got, mafia or the organized crime in the Deep South and corruption by police. So a lot of positive themes here today for this show. But before we get into the movie, let me tell you about the Los Angeles Mission. I just want to encourage you to go to the Los Angeles Mission website. I think we got it right there. There's losangelesmission.org. I was just at a big meeting with them, and they were struggling last year financially. They turned it around, and now they are in the black, but they want to expand the number of beds that they're offering. So if you guys can do me a favor, look up the losangelesmission.org, make a small donation today. One of the most important things they did is they revamped their kitchen. So they worked with another nonprofit, and now the food is fantastic. So guess what? A lot more people are coming in the door. The way to any person's house, whether they got a house or don't have a house, is good food, right? So that's working out for them down there. And you can contribute to that today at the losangelesmission.org. Now, today's movie is, like I said, it's In the Electric Mist. Got a lot of great upbeat themes. And so, which is why I had to bring back Sergeant Danny Kuhn to talk about all these great things like suicide and alcoholism and and serial killing. Hey, Danny, I thought, a lot of upbeat themes to talk about, right?
Exactly. All the nice, depressing, fun stuff.
And we are going to be joined with Martine today. The producer is stepping up to give some critical critique of the movies. Hey, Martine, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Chief. And how are you too?
I'm doing good. To the audience, I've got my third granddaughter, and I was just visiting my son and my daughter-in-law this weekend. They want to try for a boy now. Now I got 3 granddaughters, and I love my granddaughters. It'd be nice to have a grandson, but hey, you know what? Fate is fate. It's what it is, right? So I'm just happy. 9 pounds, 11 ounces, and she didn't want to come out. They had to induce her to cut her and take her out because she wouldn't come out. And the history of the family is my son was 10'8" at birth, and his wife was 10 pounds at birth. So I think we kind of knew this was going to be a big baby, and she was. She was a week overdue and wouldn't come out, but now she's born. Got a chance to hold her on Sunday, so it was fun. So what's going on with you, Danny? First of all, I forgot to do where I post your we got your book. So in the chat, do me a favor, and maybe Martine can throw it up on the screen.
Yes.
Is your new podcast name? Is it the same as what you got under your?
Yeah, it's the same. It's a Bulletproof First Responder, and it's a podcast. It's available on YouTube and then Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio for right now. And then I'm going to be working on getting another some of the other popular podcast
platforms. Okay. Is it on YouTube? Is it at Bulletproof? What's the actual title name of the YouTube page?
Bulletproof First Responder, I believe. Bulletproof
First Responder. Okay. All right, folks. We'll go there and watch that. If you're actually dealing with it's a lot of it's about post-traumatic stress. Is that correct, Annie?
It's it'll be post-traumatic stress, hypervigilance, moral injury. A lot of the current things we're going through. My next, today I'm posting a show on hypervigilance, which is pretty good because that's something we all go through, military and as first responders. And then that's going to go into, it kind of ties into last week's, which was about the I'm okay lie. And that's, it's just, you ask your partner how you doing, they go, I'm okay. When in reality, they're not. They're tearing up inside. And that'll morph into a pretty lengthy one in 2 weeks. And then it's just going to kind of roll over and over into the different themes that we go to. And then eventually it's going to hit straight on suicide. And then I'm going to start having guests. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. It's funny. We were talking about evolution before we started the show here, the natural evolution of men and women. But for men, the evolution was to suck it up and move forward. That it isn't like a social construct or that kind of nonsense. It is just a reality of what you had to do to survive. 1,000 years ago, you can't get your feelings hurt if the lion attacks you, kill it and keep moving on, right? It's not.
30 years ago, you couldn't get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like it's life is hard, right? And
when you go back to your reptilian brain, which is right here, right at your brainstem. That's evolution right there. That's where it all began with, and what you was what DNA was put in back then is still there, and things have changed. Where back then, you were running and doing all this kind of stuff because you were going to get eaten by a tiger or something, or a dinosaur,
or you're going to eat it. One of the other,
exactly. And these days, the whole thing, the whole script is flipped. Now it's like everybody's stressed over everything for anything, and it's just silly. So it's interesting. I get into that in the show that drops today. So
okay, great. All right. So hey, be sure after you watch Morning Coffee with the Chief and we review the movie In the Electric Mist. Stay tuned for Danny's show and watch it. And you can watch my show. I just dropped a show yesterday, The Trump House. This is a veteran who regularly went out and cheered on Trump and the administration. And it's my show is Briefing with the Chief. It's on YouTube and Rumble. And basically, he was beaten up by his neighbor, and he passed away yesterday on Memorial Day. And his name is Kerry Sherrod. 69-year-old veteran, was still cooking at the senior center, so he's working still. And now he's passed away because somebody didn't like. It seems like somebody didn't like his politics. So a sad story, but I do probably 3 shows a week on Briefing with the Chief and having a lot of fun doing it. So check both podcasts out and work that gray matter, get a little smarter, right? And so today we're going to talk about In the Electric Mist. Let me give this was released in 2009. It's a French-American, interesting story, French-American mystery. I don't know why it's a French drama, just that the director was French. And it's based upon a novel, In the Electric Mist with Confederate Dead, by James Lee Burke. And there's a little mystical kind of stuff here where a long deceased Confederate officer shows up in the detective's dreams. But it starts Tommy Lee Jones as David Rubidoux. I think that's how you say that. And he's a Louisiana detective. But the interesting thing about this show is, I was doing some research. It was actually the director shot all the scenes. And then the studio took it away from him, and then they cut it the way they wanted it. And there was an American released, and there was a director's cut release that was released in Europe and Asia, not in the United States. We just got the American version. I'm assuming ours is the American version. I didn't double check on that. But what'd you think of the movie, Danny?
Actually, I thought it was pretty good. When you first introduced me to this, I went ahead and I went to Rotten Tomatoes and a couple other reviews, and I'm looking at the reviews and I go, I'm going to have to really suck it up to get through this movie because the reviews weren't any good. But on the flip side, when you look at the 2 leads in the show, Tommy Lee Jones and John Goodman, it can't be that bad of a movie because these guys are great actors. And, so I went ahead and watched it, and there's a couple of parts that got a little silly, a little weird, but overall, I liked the movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I like Tommy Lee Jones too. Martine, what'd you think?
I would like if the movie would be more clear in which type of movie it wants to be.
Yeah.
It's a supernatural thriller.
Yeah.
It's a crime movie.
Yeah.
It gets a little jumbled, and the explanations are not very clear. You have to assume some things about the only explanation that you get about three or four different things. You get one explanation, and you have to infer
Yeah.
from that one point the explanation for the other three. Uh, However, the acting was on point. Oh my god, everybody did a great job in the acting of this movie.
And that
Yeah.
was
I
one of
like.
the things in the reviews was, left a lot of doors wide open, and you had to figure it out yourself. And
Yeah. Yeah, well, Tommy Lee Jones is a great actor, and he can carry a bad script, I guess. But
Yes.
this could have been a better script, is what I'm hearing. And the book is got the whole supernatural element. So I guess if you're going to stay true to the book, you'd talk about that. But yeah, I thought that was more distracting, Martine, when it was General Hood showed up to in this guy's dreams to give him advice. I mean, or whatever, when he was poisoned.
Mm.
I did, yeah. I thought that was distracting. I think they could have, focused more on building the drama of the serial killer, which was kind of just thrown at you. I think they could have did a little more pathway to lead to the killer and laid a little more clues to make it a little more interesting. Um, but yeah, they could have find another way to fill up the screen and make the show a little more interesting. Or just build out the little more of the character depth of the guy, his partner who got killed, who was an alcoholic who saved him. Anything, but I don't think. Although I love history and I actually love Civil War history too. It's very interesting to me. Um, I didn't think that part worked, not in my book, anyways. So uh, I don't know. I had to look up Colonel Hood, our General Hood, and he was a good battlefield officer, meaning he was aggressive, but when he got was made general, he tended to rely on very costly charges and killed a lot of his people. So I mean, he comes off here as this, as this well, the fictitious general is all wise and all that other stuff. But if you look at, in fact, it was the criticism of him is we should have never changed generals and put Hood in charge because we had so many casualties because of the tactics he used. So I don't know. It doesn't really have a positive history as a leader, as a general, because
they did name the largest army base in the United States after him.
I know Fort Hood. I know. Yeah, it's interesting, but when you start looking at their critique, the other thing is he got his butt kicked by one of his instructors at West Point, because all these guys were Ivy Union, and a lot of the officers were West Pointers, and when the war came, they had to make a decision, which way were they going to go. And obviously, if you were from the South, many of them, not all, but most actually, obviously took commissions in the Confederacy. And what's his name? Robert E. Lee was offered the head of the Union Army, and he declined because his home state was Virginia, and he says, I can't go against my state, and he reluctantly took the head of the Confederacy. So it's interesting. And then these guys are all fighting each other, and they went to school together, or they were instructors, and it's just it really was the Civil War between brothers and friends. If you think about it from the officer corps within both the Union and the Confederacy. But it's also, I think, if you understand Confederate history, it was a war of attrition and a war in which industrialization mattered, right? Which is why, because the better generalship was in the South, but the resources and the supplies and the industrial base was in the North, and ultimately that's what won the war. And that could be argued to a great degree about World War II too, and actually World War I for that matter. When the U.S. gets in the war and they got all these factories and just make tank after tank after tank after tank, there's no way the Germans were going to ever win. foolishly they thought they could, or the Japanese. So it was interesting. I listened to the Japanese had this whole belief that their spirit and their aggressiveness and their culture could overcome any technological advancement, technological approach that the Americans took to war. Like just their spirit, their willingness to fight. And in fact, I listened to one today. They had a cannon that shot out 100 small ball bearing type projectiles. Once they used a cannon, and the projectile was 3 inches wide, and then it would disperse after it left the cannon like 50 yards in front of it. And they used it in Guadalcanal, and they took out whole brigades with this of the Japanese as they did their banzai charges, killed them, wiped them completely out. And the Japanese, they lost 700 people in that one battle, and the Japanese had to begin to rethink the whole banzai charge and the whole, hey, I guess technology does overcome spirits. But okay, we'll get back to our movie here. But I like the movie mostly because I do like John Goodman and I do like Tommy Lee Jones, and I think Goodman played a fun. I like I said, I've said this on many movies. I think it's more fun to be the bad guy as an actor. Yeah. I don't know. They are much more memorable, right? And you get to have more fun. You're as the bad guy, you're drifting. These are all decent people, right? So you're drifting way out of what your character is to be this loathsome bad guy, right? And that's what he is. He's a pimp and drug dealer or whatever, and happy-go-lucky kind of thug, I guess, is probably crime lord, I guess is the best way to say it. And he does a pretty good job of it. What's it called? Baby Feet. I figured. Let me get his character name up because it was
Julie Baby Feet.
Yeah, because he had, and that's they have these weird names down south, right? Julie Baby Feet Belbone. That sounds Italian, but yeah, he was a fun bad guy, right?
John Goodman, a good actor, but I tell you what, he had to feel real comfortable in his skin for being a big guy walking around in a robe. I wouldn't do it. I'm looking at this and I go, this is why this movie's going to work, because it doesn't matter what he does. He feels real good in his skin.
Hey, who's going to tell the guy that can get you killed? Boss, you want to put on a shirt? Ain't going to happen.
So that's when you knew it was going to work.
All right, let's start rolling the film here, at least, Martine, and we'll get into some of the stuff here. Now, one of the things I did want to talk about as we're ramping up, best Tommy Lee Jones movie. Any idea what's your best Tommy Lee Jones movie there? And there's a lot of them, I know, but for you, Danny, best Tommy Lee Jones movie.
I like the U.S. Marshal series.
Yeah.
Both of them. The one that got them the U.S. Marshal.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? The Fugitive. Those two.
Of those two, I think Fugitive was way better.
Yeah.
It was just the Marshals, U.S. Marshals was
It was like a typical
a knockoff. The character was so great in Fugitive, they had to do another movie, right? So, yeah. How about you, Martine?
That's a tough one. I've never thought about it. Oof. Well, yeah. I'm gonna lump those two movies that Danny talked about.
Oh yeah.
As a one thing, because I yeah.
Well, remember we did
because I'm having trouble discerning from or separating best movie and best performance. I like it more in I don't know. To me, yeah, The Fugitive.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta say this because well, first of all, our reviews of those movies were wonderful because we had a couple of U.S. Marshals on doing the movies review, and one of them was like this history buff, so on the U.S. Marshals, so it was a lot of fun. If you remember that, Martine.
Yeah.
But I got to go with No Country for Old Men. I really liked that one. I think that was a good performance by him. It was a good movie. It had a good cast too, really good cast. And then I'd have to go The Fugitive But I liked the Men in Black series. It showed
Yeah, yeah.
his comedic
Eh,
side, and he was a lot of fun.
Heaven on Earth is a very good one too.
But yeah, so I got No Country for Old Men. I really think I really enjoyed that movie. Of course, he said that we had the bad guy. That bad guy was a good bad guy. That movie, you forget Shakur, I guess remember that was the character's name,
Yes.
and um and the great scene where he's going to flip the coin and you get to decide what the clerk. Oh, that was really live or die. Well, what am I betting for? You're betting for your life. You're betting for everything, I think is what he said. But I think the fugitive is in terms of his performance and that character is really good. I enjoyed him in that. But there's so many movies. He did so many movies. But hey, how about John Goodman? Because he starred in this one too. The best movie for John Goodman. Can you remember?
He was real good in Trouble with the Curve with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't see that movie. So
Yeah, Clint Eastwood played an old baseball scout, and his daughter,
right.
who's a lawyer, who grew up with a single dad. So she's a big baseball fan, and then John Goodman was his boss,
Ah,
and he played a pretty good role in that. And,
what about you, Martine? Any?
No.
No,
No.
no, nothing. Nothing that comes to mind.
Nothing that comes to mind.
How about The Big Lebowski?
I mean, I liked it. I liked it, but
Arizona Rising. There's another good one. He's not really a lead, but he's a great character actor, right? So and it's hard to say what's the best movie because he does a good job in all of them. But and again, he thinned down. Did you see that when he was really heavy, and then he thinned down, and now he's getting heavy again. He was on Roxanne's show. Oh, it was Roseanne. That was the name of it, right? Roseanne's show, right?
Roseanne.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. We got our murder. We got our detective here, who is investigating a body found in the swamp. But first, you see him pulling over the star, right? So I first of all, you don't see this in every small town in Louisiana. I think he's driving a Ferrari there. Is that correct? I can't remember the car now. It's been a couple weeks since I watched the movie.
Yeah, Lamborghini or Ferrari.
Lamborghini, yeah. But this is something that you could do back in the day, Danny, is just get in the car, I'll drive you home kind of thing. We can't do that anymore. So, but hey, how you doing, Gambit? So here's my biggest problem with this. Are you going to tow that Lamborghini?
I don't want to have anything to do with that Lamborghini.
I know, because if it gets damaged, are you going to really tow that thing? I mean, there's so many pitfalls that come with that. And of course, she probably can't drive it. But
and you can't just leave it there.
Can't just leave it there. So this is the scene where he pulls over the actor who's clearly drunk, and of course he's in a truck. That's an unmarked truck, which is probably not unusual in Louisiana, and he pulls him over and just puts him in the front seat. So very relaxed kind of officer safety stuff going on there, assuming that he's not a threat, right? So here he is. He's driving the guy home drunk. There was a time after you pulled somebody over, if they'd been drinking, you had to take them to jail because if you let them out and they got back in a car and got in an accident, killed somebody, you'd lose your house, right, Danny? So you get sued. Yeah. So that's probably 30 years ago. The case law, the CHP, they paid out $20 million. That was 30 years ago for a CHP officer that I think he let the guy go, and the guy ended up going on killing somebody, and the state paid out a lot. I don't think they went after the officer yet, but then the law changed. We all got trained. You pull them over, you suspect, you bring them in. That was just it. No more.
The liability is, even 30 years ago, the liability was just too insane because it's just not safe. Even, I had known cops that got pulled over.
Right.
Told to go have a cup of coffee and wait it off. And,
right. One of the things that happened here, and I know you can relate to this, Danny, is he said, "Are you going to throw up in my truck?"
Yeah.
Are you going to throw up in my truck? Because
And he says, no, no.
no, but when you hook up somebody, Martine, and you put them in your back seat, and you start, because you know how it is, you get in your back seat if you're already not feeling well. Now you're in the back seat, you're cuffed, you can't even control where your head is bobbing because your handcuffs are behind you, and you see the guy starting to turn a little green, and you're thinking, oh, don't throw up in my back seat, don't throw, because here's the deal, you got to, that's your car for the shift, right? You got to then get it cleaned out, and they can never really quite clean it out enough, and so you smell that puke you can end up smelling that puke for the rest of your shift, or the guy who gets the car after you, because you have to either take it out of service, and if they don't have enough cars, you got to use it. Right, you got to use it, so you don't want anybody puking in your car.
The best thing that the sheriff's department did, and I want to say this was in the mid '90s, is because we used to have the stock back seats, or the stock seats in the whole car.
Right.
And they finally took out the stock seats in the back and put the plastic molded one in.
Yeah.
That took away about maybe 85-90% of the fear of someone puking, because then the trustees can just go in and wash it out real quick.
Yeah, it was easier to clean out. Absolutely. What he means is, instead of a cushioned seat, you have a plastic molded seat that was easier to clean, right? With plastic mats and things like that, right?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So I knew you would get that, and the other he pulls this guy over, and the guy says, "Hey, there's this decaying body," right? I don't know. It never. See, here's one of those things that never quite gets answered. How did he find the decaying body? No real questions asked about it, right? This is one of those things that and he tells him, well, let me go and I'll tell you where the body's at, right?
I think it was addressed in the movie, because this guy was an actor. They were doing a Civil War movie, and they were in the swamp doing this movie, and it was after Katrina. So the speculation is that because of Katrina, it washed some stuff, some debris away, and now you can see the bones of this body, and that's what he saw.
The one kind of, why didn't you report it sooner?
Yeah,
that was it would seem to me that'd be an important question to ask, but whatever. So, but they go in, and I believe it's a young girl. So I watched this 3 weeks ago, so now I'm just going off my notes here, and she's. It's like a lot of the serial killer stuff. We saw it with the Texas killing fields, Martine, that we did, and we talked about a lot of this stuff, because this is akin to that. You're seeing dead bodies turn up; they're all girls, and they are people who are at risk, right? People who are on the margins, teen girls that don't have a lot of money. They get sucked into crime, and for them, it's sexual exploitation that is going on. And that goes on everywhere. It isn't just Louisiana, but it's happening down there in the South as well. And it also makes them easy targets for serial killers, right? So that's what's going on. I mentioned it. I know you're from South America, but it happens down there too. The ladies on the margins.
Happens everywhere.
And the ones that are vulnerable are the ones that get picked off. Ones that get into drugs are the ones that get picked off, right? Or they're hooked on drugs so that they can do this, and they are easy targets for homicides, right? Or for exploitation, which many times can lead to homicide. So that's kind of the theme that's developed in the movie, right? Yeah,
one of the many things that are addressed in the movie.
We talked about this a lot on our shows, Danny, and this show is, it's when you got the hooks on somebody that the lips start moving, that you get tips, right?
That's exactly right.
The
most uncomfortable feeling in the world is being handcuffed behind your back.
I got something to trade.
Let's see if we can make a deal. Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. And that's the thing. You would think that, like, as soon as they found the body, they'd have said something. That's why I'm like, he waits till he's handcuffed before he says anything. And so they, of course, think this gal is up to in the life, and they go to visit John Goodman, right? This is This is his place, right? He's at the pool. He's
Yep, that's
now
where he's
these
feeling good
guys,
about
they
himself.
don't really get too much into this, but they're childhood friends.
Well, more acquaintances than friend or
Yeah, probably
Well, they were
acquaintances,
on the
or
same baseball
frenemies,
team. They played
same
ball
baseball
together.
team.
Yeah.
So,
but they don't
um,
like each other.
well,
No, because
they
one
kind
went
of
bad
make
and
it
one went
clear
good.
once one went to the crime life, the other one, yeah, they that it was. I would think that if Tommy Lee Joe's character was corruptible, then they'd all got along. But he's not, right? Maybe he's corruptible because he's an alcoholic, but he's not corruptible in terms of money, right? And so that's why their friendship is uh, gone in different directions. So, and it's interesting. Remember we did the Highwaymen or the Highway when they took out uh, they took out Bonnie and Clyde, right? Which was a very corrupt era. And these guys went down to it was Louisiana, I think, and they hit up the sheriff there, thinking he was corrupt, and the sheriff got upset and was going to arrest them because he's thinking that they're there to bribe him or whatever. And in the end, that's they end up including the sheriff and his main guy on the posse to take out Bonnie and Clyde because they realized they were not corrupt, and that's who they needed, right? Hey, Gambit, let's see. But it looks like, well, a decent enough film. Yeah, we talked about that, the quality of it, maybe before you came on. Did you see that? I can't remember if you can help us out, Gambit. Is this director's cut we're watching? I don't think it is. I think it's the U.S. version cut. And they did say that in Europe, this got it was well received. So they liked the movie in Europe. So I guess Danny, you and the Europeans have something in common, right? So you got the
No,
both like.
it's not a bad movie.
No, I don't think it is.
It's not a very good movie either. But
It could have been better.
and as you said, the movie is carried on mainly by the performance of tremendous actors.
Well, all I know is if you're in the swamp and you're not swatting away mosquitoes, you're doing some pretty good acting there. So, yeah, you know what I mean? They're supposed to be in the swamps and they're not and they're not getting hit up by the mosquitoes. Now, I did want to the thing about Balboni is that the South did have organized crime. It was called the Dixie Mafia, right? And we did it when we did Walking Tall movie. They had organized crime, but it wasn't the typical organized crime that you had in or the Cosa Nostra, which you had in New York. The mafia did operate down there, but they operated at the Italians, but it was more of a collection of criminal gangs that coordinated and operated together. White Southerners for the most part, but they would work with the cities where they had some organized crime because you had some organized crime figures in New Orleans and in Florida. But for the most part, it was this Dixie Mafia that ran the drugs and the prostitution. If you remember correctly, the movie Walking Tall, it was a state line where they had a lot of prostitution, drugs, and then they would rip off people when they got drunk and that kind of thing. And Buford Pusser wanted to take them out, right? That was his thing. He wanted to get rid of them. And that was all based upon a true story. All that stuff did happen, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and it gave way to this organized crime stuff. And I did want to talk. It's still happening. So, recently they had a couple of, they had Operation Boudat, which is built upon the New Orleans State's Who Dat, in which they busted a bunch of sexual predators, right? These are people who did not register as sexual predators, and they used every October they do those operations. And another one was a WhatsApp prostitution menu. So you can go on WhatsApp and get a menu of sexual services you wanted, and that was also in the South. And these were just in 2025. And that was run by Hondurans. So these were Hondurans who came up here illegally, and they had a bunch of illegal gals who had to work off their debt, and they were doing it through sexual exploitation in the South. There's no doubt in my mind that people were getting paid off to turn a blind eye, but not all of them are getting paid off because the cops busted them. So organized crime does occur in the South. It's just a little differently than what you'll see in New York, and a little different than, say, the Russian mafia. But it is there. Whenever there's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, somebody is making rock and roll. Somebody's making money off that stuff. Let's see, the dispute between Bertrand and the American producers during the editing became so strong that their producers forbade the composer. Oh, really? I didn't know him. To talk to the director. Yeah, they took it away from him and cut their own movies, which is weird, right? That's it's this is where the whole creative control comes in, right, Martine, between the director who has a vision and the artist who have a vision, and then the business. They have to make money, right? And they're looking at it from that side. You've done a lot of movies on not just my show, but a bunch of other shows. But that plays out in every production, right?
Yeah.
The director never really has a full hand. I think you can look at the whole Marvel series and all that other stuff. It became, unfortunately, the money making part of it became secondary to the in that series to the whatever the, I don't want to say DEI. That's probably the wrong way to say it, but these social messages that they wanted to sell, right? Instead of escapism, entertainment, it suddenly they needed to plant messages in there, and it became less profitable, right? That kind of stuff. But so you always have this challenge of making money. We got to make sure we're making money, and the artist's rendition, right? What the artist wanted and what they thought, and they don't always coincide. Unless you're a name like Steven Spielberg, he gets to do whatever he wants, right? Because he's the director and he's the producer. So, yeah, what do you think of this conflict, Martine, between these two? Between the production house and the director?
Well, we've seen all the time we've seen something like that. However, before taking any side, I would like to know what the conflict was, and and around what elements, because maybe you don't know.
Yeah,
there are things that I would have left out of this movie. There are things that I would have included in this movie. I don't know if they were even filmed. I don't know who was pushing for what was being pushed by the director or what was pushed by the studios. I don't have any information or information enough to take a side here. I don't know who's in the fault.
Right. So here we got they're talking about, they do talk a little bit about the bodies and maggots and all that. All right, so I got to get into the alcoholism part of this. It does come up that our hero here, David, the detective here, is an alcoholic. Danny, that's not an unusual thing. Not that every cop is an alcoholic, not that every soldier is an alcoholic, not that every first responder is an alcoholic, but there are a lot more people who turn to alcoholism to deal with issues that may have come up on the job, or just the kind of the macho culture with law enforcement and being first responder and being the military, right?
That's right. Within law enforcement in general, law enforcement is deeply ingrained in the culture. Right? We're going back to the turn of the 20th century, so it's been there for a long time. And I'd mentioned this in a show we did earlier, probably on Briefing with the Chief show, but it's when you look at alcohol in the police culture, every police movie, every police show, with the exception of Adam 12, had alcohol scenes in them. They had cops sitting at the end of the bar crying out their sorrows, or they had cops standing up on top of roofs shooting at the Bank of America sign, drinking and stuff like that. So that's it's deeply embedded in the culture. And it's, if you're, I'll say the hard guy cops kind of thing. If you're a hard guy patrol cop and you're pushing hard, you're hitting the hypervigilant zone real high every day, and then you're going off to, you want to cool off with your buddies afterwards, and you start drinking to keep that dopamine pumping in your head. That's what's going on, and that's probably why a lot of cops get into it. And if you're not that cop, in a way, you kind of get shamed. Oh, you're too good to hang out with the fellas after work. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. And that's that's just how the culture is, and
Yep.
it's changing finally after 130 years, but it's going to take time, but that's how it is, and fortunately, there's organizations. AA is a pretty good organization. And since they're talking about AA in this, but in larger jurisdictions and larger municipalities and everything, there's AA groups that are job specific. So there's an AA group for first responders. In LA County, it's the Peace Officers Fellowship, which takes firefighters, cops, medics, all of the first responders. But they're a pretty good organization that, and because being a cop with an alcohol problem, you're not just going to go to some AA meeting and go, "Hi,
No.
I'm Danny, I'm an alcoholic."
Did I arrest half of you guys?
It's like, oh hell no, I'm not going there. You're going to go around someone that, your peers that are you can relate to more often, and that, and so that's kind of and it was kind of funny because they did show him going to an AA meeting. He goes, "Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm an alcoholic," and it's like, and Dave, you arrested everybody in there.
Yeah, it's I did a show on the Peace Officer Fellowship, and so it is good. And they started in the Sheriff's Department. LAPD jumped on board, and then it's now a national organization. They have branches in most of the major cities, and that's what we got into. And and you see a little bit of that in this. So our Dave here is an alcoholic, but he's friends with another local cop, another jurisdiction, Sheriff's Department, and he's an alcoholic as well. And unfortunately,
Would that be Twinkie?
I think so. He ends up getting killed, or they say it's suicide, but he was killed. And which I didn't like that whole part of it. They just kind of, oh yeah, he killed him. Yeah, what? If there's a possibility he was murdered, your own department. That's why this whole, there had to be some corruption going on there, right? Baby feet, even if he wasn't involved in the murder of these girls, had influence over these guys, and anything that looked at him, they were going to turn a blind eye to, even including the death of one of their own. Which that's the part I didn't believe. I go, okay, no cop is going to do that. I'm sorry. Or let me put it this way. 99% are not going to turn their back on that. They're going to want some pound of flesh for what happened to their buddy.
Yeah.
Even if their buddy was doing the right thing and they weren't, the only place I think that I've seen it, like New Orleans, they had some really corrupt guys that killed other cops. One of them was a corrupt female cop. She killed her partner.
Corrupt female sergeant doing a robbery.
Yeah.
Killed.
And then,
doing a side job.
Yeah. Somebody, she knew him and killed him.
It's post Katrina.
For chump change. It was hardly anything, But that's where you get the low pay stuff. I do want to say Mary Steenburgess is in here. She's Lee Jones's wife. I always liked her. She's a good actress, a very stable, good actress. And so I got to talk a little bit about let's see, so this is small town policing, which is something we're not really used to. I get Scott Orr on here. He grew up in a small town. They know each other. Everybody knows each other, right? And Tommy Lee Jones knows as he's asking questions that everybody's hiding something, right? Nobody's, even when he's interacting with the other police agencies, nobody's giving him the straight story, and he knows it, right? They're all hiding something. And then there's this undercurrent as he looks at the body. He remembers a murder that he saw, that he witnessed when he was a teenager, of a black man, right? So we have a lot of these intersecting themes. So I don't know if that was a necessary scene or necessary theme, but it does. And I remember I wrote in my notes, the storyline is going to intersect soon, right? Somewhere the people that are involved in the killing of those girls are also involved in that murder that happened decades before when he was a teenager, and they do ultimately intersect. But the small town, nobody's talking to you. Kind of like the bully in Broad Daylight, where they killed that guy that was tormenting the town. The townspeople did in Missouri. I don't know if you know that story, but Brian Dennehy started.
Dennehy, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think we did that movie. I'll have to do that movie, Martine, because that's a good movie. But nobody talks. Nobody's talking to you, and he knows it. He knows these people, right? And he knows they're not, Balbone's not talking to him. Everybody connected to Balboni, and then he gets the one informant that does eventually tell him, give him some tips to to is basically a crumb trail to what's going on, right? Um, but for the most part, nobody's talking to him. And to me, that would be weird in a small town. You know these people for
No.
decades, and they're not talking to you, and you know they're not talking to you because you've known them for years, and you know when they're lying to you, right? Wouldn't that bother you? That would bother me in a small town.
Pat, I worked Avalon for 9 years as a detective.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And when you work in an area where the population is 3,500, they know everything.
They-
you know as a detective almost everything. It's very weird when you're talking to someone and they're just telling you the story and they're lying right to your face and you're going, you're an idiot.
Do they rely on your relationship with them because you're there for 11 years? You develop a relationship with people.
With a lot of people I did, and
Turn a blind eye on this one, please, Danny. Do they rely on that? Because you see that in this movie. That's what I see.
Yeah. yeah, they definitely turn a blind eye to it, and it's what helped me a lot was having a wife who reads, writes, and speaks Spanish, beyond a Mexican wife.
Yeah.
She was able to the Mexican ladies that lived on the island who were married, who had seen their husband doing all this nefarious stuff, they would tell her.
Oh, they would.
My informant base was one Mexican national guy and about 3 or 4 Mexican national women. Finally, over about a 7-year period, we brought down one of the biggest drug dealers on the island, or biggest transporter to the island of drugs. As we got him coming off the boat and stuff like that. And that was me, U.S. Customs, and DEA. And it was fun, but it was a lot of work for a long time.
Yeah, and a lot of people that you knew were involved, but
Oh, yeah.
they weren't saying anything, right? Or
It was funny. Is one guy who I knew was deeply involved. He was like probably number 2 or number 3 in their little cartel organization over there. He happened to be off the island when this whole thing when the big drug bust went down, and word was that he stayed off the island for another 3 months because it was too hot for him.
for him to operate. What was it? What was the drug of choice? They were
This was cocaine,
cocaine. Okay.
and
Yeah.
then and it was almost pure cocaine. It had probably been stepped on at least one time, but not more than that.
Right.
And then shortly after that, because of the success of that operation, some of the people that knew was able to get us or get me a couple of traffickers in methamphetamine, and we got before I left the island, a crap load of meth off the island. So
Good. Wow. Yeah, it goes to show you can be in paradise and it gets you everywhere. I mean, I did a show on the cartels are deep all over the United States, and I think people are clueless, right? But they are in every major city. Here you are on a small island, and because it can't not be cartel related because somewhere they're bringing the dope across. So there is, even if it's you're just one criminal organization buying from their cartels, you're still subservient to some degree to the cartels because you depend on their supply. So, and I try to explain to people, this is, because we went through this, let's not prosecute anybody for dope dealing or dealing drugs in the U.S. And all it caused was a dramatic increase in addiction, overdose deaths, and misery, in my mind.
This is about 2005-ish.
And,
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a narco sergeant and a narco detective. Actually, the detective was a good friend of mine. We'd radio car partners years before. And we're sitting out having a cup of coffee one morning at this outdoor cafe, just drinking a cup of coffee. It's like right after the first boat came in. And the sergeant looks at me and goes, "Danny, you guys got a freaking cartel here." Just because he's seeing things that I'm telling him about, and he's watching them, he's watching people, and he was right. It was a part of the Sinaloa cartel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, Sinaloa.
All the way up in Avalon, paradise,
In Avalon. Well, what they were doing, they were taking the dope to the backside of the island and switching it out. They were bringing up cocaine from Mexico, going to the backside of the island, and trading that for BC Bud coming down from Canada.
Ah,
And
wow.
then it was be distributed from there. And one of the guys I arrested, okay, this is even post 9/11, so you had to have all these trick stuff. He would sit there and he would go from the island, go over to Compton, get a load of cocaine, several pounds, get on an airplane, fly to Chicago, fly to Minneapolis, fly to the south, and once you get down into the southern states, Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky, and a couple other states, those states would give you, if you were a Mexican national with no ID or anything, they'd give you an ID card. And it was 2006 when finally whoever was governor at the time decided, okay, we got to give all the Mexican nationals driver's license. So it was just bizarre. But that's what he was doing. And when we got him and a couple other people, it was a good year in drug enforcement on the island.
Yeah, on the island, yeah. And everybody was they switched back to alcohol probably. So not much to do on the island during the off season, right? When tourists aren't coming around, just drink and
Drink.
yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about so they find the second body here, and I think we got our FBI people have joined here. I'm trying to get past figure out where we're at in our movie here because we've been talking, but one of the things, they find the body and it's loaded with crabs. So the crabs are eating it, which is, so is that real life? Absolutely it is. Crabs are scavengers, and they will look for organic matter to eat, and that includes bodies. So in the bayou, if you want to get rid of a body, you throw it in the swamp with crabs, right? And the crabs, they take care of business. They get rid of the body. That's just the reality, right, Danny? That's,
It's crazy to think that the things we like, shrimp, lobster, and crabs, are bottom feeders, and they eat all the crap that we throw in the ocean. But that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
If you you want to get rid of a body, throw it where the alligators are, throw it where the crabs are, throw it. It's out here in California. If you want to get rid of a body, take it out about 30 miles on the other side of Catalina Island, drop it off. It's going to Mexico.
Or just drop it in the boneyard like we talked about
We,
here.
we are not giving criminal advice here, okay?
Well, in the
okay, YouTube.
Well, we got to talk about the realities of the film. Now, this was a part that was realistic. If you're gonna dump them in the swamp near where the crabs hang out, or the alligators, I imagine. But it's probably a little safer just to dump them in the pool with the crabs and to go play with the alligators. But hey, they showed the crabs in the bucket where this, and I go, okay, is that real? And I kind of knew it was, but I double checked. Absolutely, they will eat bodies and carcasses and human beings and that kind of stuff. And so if you're this nefarious criminal who's from the area, and our killer ultimately is from the area, and that you have to do that, right? That's what you do, right? To get rid of the body if you don't want to get caught, right? Plus, it also takes away a lot of the DNA, right? I mean, dump it in the water with crabs, you're not going to be a whole lot of DNA there left to look at, right?
And you had their crabs for dinner a couple nights later.
Yeah, it's like, I know. Go crab hunting, right? Yeah. So, all right. So we got our special agent involved, and I think we in a few minutes we'll take a quick break, Martine. But so the special agent, let's get her name here because I'm forgetting her name here. Rosie Gomez and Justina Machado. Is that how you say her name? That's Machado. Who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's. Fan, are you?
No, I'm not. But well, in the playoffs, when the playoffs come, I'm one of those. Like we've been watching the hockey playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been pretty good. But I don't watch hockey but hey, the hockey, in the baseball playoffs, I'll watch them, particularly if the Dodgers are in it or the Tigers, which are the two teams I'll follow if they make it. But here we go. She plays our FBI agent. Nice looking gal. I'm looking at her page right now to see what she's been involved in. She's let's see, the Throwback. Let's see the movie Throwback, The Call, The Purge. Oh, she's in one of the Purge movies. Have you reviewed the Purge movies, Martine?
No.
Any of those? No, you haven't. Yeah, unrealistic stuff. Little Fugitive, All Together Now. I don't know. She did a pretty good job in the movie. You know, I always wonder. So you're an actor, and you're going to play opposite fill in the blank. Tommy Lee Jones, De Niro, Al Pacino. I wonder if do you get panicked? I don't know. What do you think, Danny? Do you get a little worried that you're going to be playing opposite?
I would have some anxiety.
Do you measure up?
Just
you know,
a little anxiety.
I don't know. What do you think, Martine? You know, you're the new guy on the block, and they're going to put you up against. You're going to be partnered with Tommy Lee Jones. You're in Men in Black, right? You're Will Smith.
Well, first of all, I had to check the fanboy in me and say, "Oh my, it's Tommy Lee Jones," and then first the excitement, and then could be the fear that, "Oh my God, that's Tommy Lee Jones. What am I doing here?" and then you have to suck it up and be professional.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Put your fear aside. Don't let it show, and just do your best.
Just do your best.
Yeah, Pat, to put it in perspective, is when you're a detective and you're the new guy, and you have all these years and years of experienced detectives around you, and you're the case ace on a big case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, crap! I got all these guys watching me. What am
Yep.
I going to do with this?
You're it now, and they're following you because they're your backup and support.
So you guys just like suck it up, like Martine said, suck it up, be professional, but also hit them up for advice. And I'm sure,
Yes,
a lot of the young actors are hitting up the actors, professional or the older actors, for advice that are approachable.
Yeah, and I would get Tommy Lee Jones as somebody who's willing to. Some of them are so snooty. I imagine you can't, but he seems like he's a consummate professional, and he would work with them. You know, I don't know that to be true, but he seems like it, right?
Yeah, he seems to be an approachable person.
Yeah.
And John Goodman, the same thing.
So we're seeing, we'll do one more thing before we now he's already been drugged, so he goes to a party, and the party's at the director's place, and he gets drugged, right? Now this can happen to cops, right? Now I would think that this would be, because I'd be going right there and doing search warrants, so you get drugged, it's confirmed that you're drugged, you end up in the hospital, they try to kill you, right? And you're just going to let it go? I don't think so. I'd be
zero
serving search
investigation.
warrants. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what? And they just let this one go like, we'd be arresting people. Well, come on, Danny, what would we be doing? We would be looking at everybody we can get hooked in hooks based on legitimate crimes, and we would be beating the bushes to find out who drugged one of our own, right?
That was, the party, it may have been at the director's house, but he just walked into the lion's den. He walked into, that was the enemy there when he went to that party. So you got to think, first of all, I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper. Do you think for a second they're going to put a Mickey in there? Of course they're going to. And then, after you get drunk, I'd have the wrath of the Louisiana State Police coming down on him.
Oh yeah, right.
It's just insane. That was weird.
Yeah, because you're in the hospital. They've taken a drug test. They've shown that an illegal drug has been put in your thing, right? The evidence is there. Now you do a search warrant on that house and everybody that threw the party, right? I mean, that's okay. That's one of the things that bother me about that. We just let that one go. It's not going to happen. All right, we're building up towards our break here, Martina. Are you ready to go with the commercial break?
Yes.
See you in a couple minutes, guys. And before we go, Gambit, best Tommy Lee Jones movie for you. Just put it in the comments. All right. See you soon.
There's only one location on the internet where you can get it all. Movie, TV, and comic industry. News and rumor analysis. Official scoops from Geekosity magazine. Reviews and interviews. So, when you need it to be Sunday, there's only one place to go, mate. Pop Culture Minefield, where they're always talking nerdy nerd stuff. Right, jog on then. There's only one location on the internet where you can get it all. Movie, TV, and comic industry. News and rumor analysis. Official scoops from Geekosity magazine. Reviews and interviews. So, when you need it to be Sunday, there's only one place to go, mate. Pop Culture Minefield. Well, they're always talking nerdy nerd stuff. Right, jog on then.
Hey, welcome back to Morning Coffee with the Chief, and we got Jameson with us here. So, hey, welcome to the show, Jameson. I just asked Gambit what's his best Tommy Lee Jones movie, and he gave The Lonesome Dove. So, I hope you had a couple fingers before you joined the show here, Jameson. But same question to you: what is your best? Oh, there you go. You got it right there. Fugitive was the peak. Yeah, that's what these other two panel. I liked No Country for Old Men. That was my favorite, I think, with him. But it was an ensemble cast for that one. They did a great job. All right. Okay. So you almost missed the show. Well, we're about halfway through it, Jameson, but we'll glad that you joined us. So there's a couple of themes that we need to get into. First of all, we had the great actor Ned Beatty does a part on this, right? And he's done the drug, he's drugged, and he's also had his visit with General Hood, right? That, I don't think I really liked it in the storyline, but whatever, that's what was in the book, so they got into the movie. But they bring Ned Beatty back, and this reminded me of, we did the movie Into the Night, right? Or was the one with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger? Was it Into the Night? No, it was one in the Deep South where Sidney Poitier played a Philadelphia detective and has to solve a murder in the Deep South after getting harassed by the local police, which it was Rod Steiger. And I think it was Into the Night, right? And but they had this old white kind of plantation owner type guy, right? It's the 60s, and he remembered when the slaves were the slaves, and they had to abide by. And this kind of dovetails into, this is where you're starting to see the intersection of the two storylines: the murders of the girl and the memory of the murder of this young black man, right? So Tommy Lee Jones is following both these threads, right? And they both kind of lead to Twinkie, and this is Ned Beatty's character, right? Twinkie Lemoyne, is that how you say his last name? And Ned Beatty, great actor himself, right? More of a character actor, but he is definitely an actor. I don't know if we call it the golden age of acting but he was definitely touched on that end of it, and into the 2000s. And so he plays the old Southern gentleman guy who wasn't really much of a gentleman, and big plantation type house, right? So all of the accoutrements of the Southern strong man in this county, or they call them parishes in Louisiana. But I like Ned Beatty. I think he's a good actor. I don't think I'll ever forget Deliverance, him in Deliverance. Squeal like a pig. Ned Beatty. That's a. I don't know if I want to play that part, but I just the trauma of him being raped as an actor, and uh, but he's a good actor, and he does a pretty good job in this movie. He's giving our detective just enough to get the guy off the back, but he's also lying too, right? And you can't help, cops, they like doing big game hunting, and it just like with Sidney Poitier in his movie, that the movie we did, they looking at that big guy that everybody wants to take down, right? And you get that with Dave here. He wants to take that guy down. It isn't, and now he thinks he's responsible, but it's when you're the small town cop and the guy that's most influential in the area, and you think he's corrupt, and you're not. I, that guy's a target for you, right? Right, Danny? Yeah, I'm going to take that big guy down, right? That's
Yeah, that's the whole reason for doing the job is going after the big guy. Everybody wants the fame and glory for that.
I try to explain to people. It's like, if you are gaining and earning power through corrupt means, there's going to be somebody that's going to work really hard to take you down, because that's the book deal, right? I felt this way about Comey when he spied on Trump in the first term. Why would he do that? Well, books, TV circuit, money. I mean, look at all the key players in Watergate. They wrote books. I think Bernstein's still on the TV. I don't think he's passed away yet. So it made their careers as reporters. And the same thing happens with cops, right? You know, it can make who you are. You can write books based upon it. Lots of times it's our homicide detectives. Obviously, they're doing to catch criminals, but if they got a really big case and they break it, there are benefits that come to that. So they don't do it to get the benefits, but there are times when you're targeting the big guy, and Ned Beatty's the big guy in this movie. What do you think of Ned Beatty there, Danny?
I vaguely remember him from other stuff. I've never seen Deliverance, so I wouldn't know what he did there. But in
Yeah.
this one here,
I,
he,
I,
he played a pretty good, um, I want to say small parish detective or deputy. Big fat.
He's
Southern
the
dude.
small
This
town
is-
bigwig is probably the best way to say it, right?
Yeah. A big fat dude that has a drinking problem. That's when you.
Oh no, that Ned Beatty is the. So are you thinking of the cop? That's the fat guy with the drinking problem, or Ned
Yeah.
Beatty
Who's the one that got Twinkie?
got killed? I'm sorry, I must have got them wrong here. No, Ned Beatty is Twinkie. The cop, what's the cop's name? He got killed. It's another guy.
Lee Gerard?
I know what you're talking about, but Ned Beatty plays the strong man. He's kind of the big man around town. His character name is Twinkie, so you got them mixed up.
Okay.
And he
Yeah.
yeah. But the thing about it is Tommy Lee Jones is looking at this, and he is connecting Beatty to the murder of he thinks, because there's a picture of Twinkie, Ned Beatty, with I think one of the girls that was killed, right? And so that leads him there, right? But he also believes that he's somehow responsible for this murder of this black kid decades before. So here's where the two are merging together, and ultimately there is a connection. And we find out there is a connection between the two. Yeah, amazing Howard Hughes. That was good too. You're right. The Client. There we go. Good job, guys. There was also a follow-up movie to The Fugitive. One of Baldwin's.
yeah, the
One of the
Marsh.
Baldwins were in it. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, that was we talked about it, U.S. Marshals. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if you guys saw that one. We did review that movie on this show. The Park is Mine. I'll have to look that one up.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I have not. The Park is Mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is it a cop movie?
No, he's a Vietnam vet,
Yeah.
and he has a friend that is severe. He has severe PTSD about dies. About he was homeless and dies, and left him a plan or a whole operation pre-planned to how to hold Central Park for during the Veterans Day as a mean of protest.
I'll have to look it up. I have not heard of that movie. The Park Is Mine. Okay, that's Tommy Lee Jones in that
Mhm.
one. Okay,
Yep.
I'll look it up. But I always look up cop movies. But I like a good entertaining movie. But Ned Beatty plays that. He plays the, let's see, squeal like a piggy. That's that's a brutal scene. You have to watch Deliverance now from Danny.
No.
But,
No. I've been dodging that one like the plague, and I will continue to do so.
You have not seen it either.
No. And it's for that precise scene. No.
Oh my God!
I worked Central Jail. That was enough for me.
Oh yeah, no. Well, it's a good movie though. I mean, it's got Burt Reynolds in it. It's got.
I don't doubt that, but I'll
Excellent
believe
cast.
anyone who tells me so. I don't have to the need.
You don't want that image in your
corroborate
brain?
it. No.
Well, anyway, Pat. Now that I say that Twinkie was with Doucette,
Right.
When Prejean was murdered 30 years
Right.
before.
34 years
So
before.
Now I'm getting I'm kind of getting back in my head here where he was, and I think then he was a corrupt sheriff or a corrupt cop. But
Yeah,
they put him in jail and then they let him out and put the black guy in jail.
This
and
kind
then let him out.
of the black guy hit on a woman or had a relationship with a white woman who was, I believe, had a relationship with Twinkie's brother. The brother wasn't capable of doing anything because I think he was injured in some way. God, I want to say it's because he was fought in war, but I can't say that for sure now. I can't remember now. But also, so both of these guys are also involved with the girls, right? That's just where the two storylines come together.
Right.
Dulcet and Twinkie. Dulcet works for Twinkie, right? For the most part, does work for him, and this is where they come together. And I knew it was. Unfortunately, the TV ESP is okay. These murders are going to come together. The black guy, you know that from the very first scenes that these two are going to merge. Which I guess in policing in a small town, Danny, there aren't that many people killing people out there, right?
Yeah, they're gonna come to. It's a very wide net.
Well, it's a small number of people that are actually committing murders, right? And thinking that it's okay because I can get away with it, right? It's not every. That's why they have.
You also as a big agency cop, when we look at these smaller agencies and go, a bunch of Southern hick podad dudes, and I'm sure the people in the community think the same thing. These guys aren't the same cops as they are in the big cities. They don't know. They're just here for the $2.50. But they don't realize that Robichaud, probably when he was having all his alcohol problems, he worked in OPD. He was from New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, and the one thing I wish I would have brought in here is bring in the real New Orleans accent.
Oh yeah.
You need a translator because I had some friends when I lived on the island. One of the guys was Jack Cook. He was from New Orleans, deep accent, and I had another one friend, a guy named John McKay. He was from Scotland, and he had a deep Scottish accent. And you sit these guys down together and get a couple of beers in them, it's hard enough to understand them before they start drinking. After they're drinking, they're having an intelligent conversation, and I have no idea what they're saying. I wish I would have brought that into this, where you need a translator or subtitles to figure out what the dude's saying.
Yeah, I didn't think the accents here were. I think they had accents, but purposely they were not too overboard. You could still understand them. But I've seen movies where they've done like where they do the Cajuns, right? They'll profile Cajuns. So the Louisianans will have a little bit of an accent, and then they go into the bayou and talk to the Cajuns. It's like you can't understand what the hell they're saying, right? And that's kind of purposeful. But I think the hitting on the black woman, that's what comes up. That the guy who was shot had hit on a black woman, was in custody, and then they faked the fact that he ran out of jail, and it was the police and Ned Beatty's character. Ultimately, that's what Robichaud figures out, right, with these guys. And it's as I was reading, I thought he was younger when I watched the movie. I thought he was younger than as being a teenager when he saw it, but it says he was a teenager when I was looking at the movie review, and I go, well, he didn't recognize them then. He had to figure out who they were. I mean, that's one of those things that's like, hey, it's if you're really young and you might block it out, but if you're a teenager, I think you're going to remember
Yeah, I
everything.
think that the movie inferred that he was younger. Like I was thinking,
Yeah,
10.
yeah, that's what the movie inferred. But when I was reading the write up, it said no. When he saw it when he was a teenager, I go, I don't know, because you might you're when you're younger, you might block it out. I say under 10, right? When you're
Well,
older, yeah, you're going to
either
remember a
block,
lot of that stuff. I'm sorry, and
either
he's going to
block
know
it
who
out.
they are, right? Go ahead,
I don't
Marky.
see that much as blocking it out as put it out of your mind because you're a kid and you know you're gonna be in deep trouble. So
Challenging it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a trauma. It's I better forget about this.
yeah, yeah. Maybe that's you always wonder what is the path. I mean, we talked about just being in a tough profession. That was his path to alcoholism. But could it have been the
Mm,
trauma of
yeah.
seeing that, start him on that path, and the desire to catch those people, start them on law enforcement because they don't get into some of those things, right?
In
Um,
real life,
mhm.
past trauma in our veterans and our first responders. So childhood trauma plays a huge role in the issues that they're dealing with, going through alcoholism, post-traumatic stress injury, stuff like that. And there's one thing is concussions
Really?
as a kid. Concussions as a kid are contributing to a lot of the issues that um, our veterans and first responders are also experiencing. So it's a real thing. What happens? It's not always you just can't say, oh, that one particular call or this one particular incident. It's something that's built up over years and years.
So you're talking traumatic brain injuries or
TBIs, yeah,
continuous,
concussions.
yeah. What
It's
say
like
TB? Go
you
ahead and
get
go
you're
ahead.
playing high school football and
Yeah.
back in the day, I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in football they'd teach the tacklers to put your face right in
Right.
the chest
Right in
of
the
the guy to
numbers.
take him
Yep.
down, right?
Yeah.
Put him in the numbers. And, every once in a while you're getting your bell rang. And, you know, 10 years ago, maybe they started doing protocol on this because
Yeah.
there is small concussions. And these, over a period of time, you get two or three of those as a kid, and then you get a concussion as an adult, on the job. That's going to, those previous concussions are going to influence the current concussion. And
Well,
it's
that's my excuse now. So,
yeah. You played football.
oh yeah, you just got your bell rung. You'll be fine. Go back in, and
Yeah,
then
a
I had
friend of
two
mine.
major concussions on the department.
Yeah,
I was knocked
a
out for
friend,
one.
a, a
So
f- a friend of mine. He his son played football at Cal, and then got drafted by the Tennessee Titans and was a blocking tight end for Tennessee. And in one game, he got his bell rung real good, and his dad would tell me, he goes, he'd get a concussion, and you'd go back into the next play, and you would have no idea what they're telling you to do because in the huddle because your bell is still rung.
right.
And fortunately, football and now baseball and hockey and a lot of the other sports where there's head injuries, they're starting to see that that concussions are a serious issue. When in the past it really wasn't taken that seriously. And for the part of Robichaud here, he saw something as a kid, and there was probably some other things that happened as a kid, abuses and everything like that led on to a career as an alcoholic. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. We're talking about childhood trauma can lead to alcoholism. One of the things we talked about a little bit is he has a friend who's a cop who actually gets him into AA. And for alcoholic policemen, it has to be somebody that you're tight with, whether it's a family member or somebody in the profession. I think there's this belief that nobody can understand what I'm going through. If you're a police officer or a soldier dealing with it. So sometimes it has to be somebody in that family that brings you in, right? Somebody
right,
in that profession that brings you in, somebody that you can relate to, that probably understands what you're going through to bring you into recovery. And And you do see that, and so to me that was accurate. I don't know about AA. I know I had AA in the jails, and people went to that, and they swore by it. I had alcohol treatment programs in the jail, so these are things that we gave to the inmates. And the treatment, the education wasn't so effective, but when we brought in treatment, in fact, it was me who brought it in the first jail. I got a lot of resistance, and I brought it in the second jail, and I convinced my boss to put it in 2 other jails with great resistance from some people I won't name. But ultimately, we got up to about 600 people getting treatment. The goal was to get to 900 before I made chief there. Then I kind of got rid of that person, and it took off until COVID. But treatment based on cognitive behavioral therapy programs, and they had where you can give injections, a certain drug that helped to stem the urge for alcoholism or alcohol and made you kind of sick if you had alcohol. Have you heard of that? And,
I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's got a name. You can get it in the pill form, injection form.
yeah, and
So,
those were
it's
very
really
effective. So those were very effective. But you can't just ignore it anymore. When you see somebody struggling with a problem, you have to jump in there and help them. So here we go. And this is why we see the relationship between the actor and our detective. He sees an alcoholic. He was helped by his buddy. And although he's not in the profession, he reaches out and offers help to this actor. Now, I got to go back. The actor his girlfriend ends up getting killed. They're clearly the shooter was targeting Robichaud. So there's more. It's more than just his alcoholism that Robichaud is reaching out to him on. But you do see, and this is part of the story though. He's reaching out to another alcoholic to get that alcoholic help, which happens, right? That's the act. I don't know, Danny, you're more familiar with this than me too. So when people are going through AA, is part of the recovery helping others?
Yeah, it's a lot of the recovery is the conversation help, and you get the help through the conversation. I'm not sure about the 12-step. I mean, I've heard about it. I've looked into it a little bit, but I don't know what the whole process is having a mentor going through the 12-step program. But it's all about helping others. And
right.
The thing, you get back to the part where Kelly Drummond was killed. It was kind of cliche-ish. I mean, oh, here, put on my jacket. It's raining. You're already soaking wet. Put on my jacket and hat, and it's already raining.
And you know what? When he handed it to her, I go, "Oh, you're right. It was cliche-ish because he gave that to her, and I go, something's going to happen." And sure enough, she gets shot, right? And here's another thing. So, I mean, there's a little more energy when she gets shot. More people are involved, and they're trying to figure out who tried to kill Robichaud here. But still, I still think it's just a muted response. They target somebody, probably targeted a cop, ends up killing somebody else, and somebody else who's connected to a famous person who's shooting a movie in your town. And I thought it was kind of a flat response. It's kind of like, oh, Robichaud got drugged by somebody. Oh, well, no big deal. Same thing.
Assassination attempt on him. No big deal.
Hey, this is kind of like the assassination attempts on Trump. Nobody cares, right? Hey, we'll just keep going. So this is because technically this is the second one on Robichaud. If you look at the drugging.
Yeah, but they were both staged. So.
They were both what?
Staged.
Staged. Okay. All right. I don't know. What do you think, Martini? I think this would. I'm sorry. When somebody tries to kill a cop, you pull out all the stops.
You're gonna have a major response. You're not
yes.
Okay. Just watch out for the alligators and let's.
Yeah. Even the I don't know if they have like the Louisiana Bureau of Investigations. I think they do, but I heck, if I'm the governor and this is happening, I'd be calling up the sheriff. Hey, Elroy. Hey, I'm coming down there with the state troopers. We're going to find out who's trying to kill this cop. I can't be having that on my watch. You know what I mean? I think more people would step in, and here's the other thing. The Robichaud here, he knows he's dealing with a corrupt organization because he has to put pressure on the sheriff. some of the stuff that's happening in other jurisdiction. They're not playing well. I think they play that up. We've had jurisdiction rivalries with folks, but I think they played up in the movies too much. Yeah, but ultimately everybody's going after the same thing. They're trying to catch the killer, unless of course they're corrupt, which is implied, right? They're not helping Robichaud because they got a stake in the game, the corrupt side of this. I don't know. That seems to come
Yeah.
out to me. What do you think,
The other
Martin?
thing is, Robichaud, I think he's suspended because the investigation about the dead woman in the car.
Yeah. Yes. At this
However,
point,
I would say with the coroner saying that that girl was dead long before being in the car, he should have been restated. This
yes,
investigation shall continue, but he should have been restated because he's in the clear now.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And it's I agree with you. There were some things that just didn't
Hollywood.
flow. Yeah, they didn't flow. Yeah, it's Hollywood logic, I guess, is probably the best way to say it. But those are the things that kind of made it goofy, right? Um, but his partner was right there. He hears the shooting. He sees them pointing the gun at. There's and she's in the passenger seat, right? I mean,
Mhm.
all of that just didn't play out well. And then, of course, they find out that she's in rigor. But here's another thing: these are, we find out that his former cops who did this stuff, right? And we're thinking, God, these guys, they have to know about rigor mortis and all this other stuff, right? So that's where you kind of think maybe the cops know what's going on, or they're just protecting their friend. Maybe they don't know everything that's going on because our murderer ends up being a former cop, right? And he has relationships with all these guys, right? And so maybe they get because he owns a security company, so maybe he's giving them jobs. You go do this, you go do that, not corrupt stuff, but he's in but they don't want to take him down because he's the golden goose, right? And which is how it works with a small town.
Yeah,
Mo-
it's a retirement plan,
yeah.
basically.
Well, because that's the other thing. They don't really pay them much down there, so and a lot of them don't have pensions, and so or if they do have pensions, it's minuscule, right? Or they might just have Social Security, and so because that's why you talked earlier about the cop who got killed. He was in the restaurant, and the sergeant came in to kill him, Danny.
Yeah.
That was New Orleans. They didn't pay a lot of money, so they all did side jobs. But they did the side jobs in their New Orleans uniforms, right? Their PD uniforms, which
They
is
actually
really weird.
drove the cars too.
Yeah, it's really weird. I never, but did they do that back east a lot? We just don't do that on the West Coast, except maybe movie jobs. They used to do that, and even that got changed up.
Well, LAPD did their movie jobs, but most of those guys on the motors and everything doing the movie jobs, they were retirees.
Yeah, but right. But they I remember them changing the legal structure, and they were not cops, right? They were.
Yeah.
It was really weird how they did it. We didn't allow that on the sheriff's department. They had to be regulars. But yeah, and so you did a private entity contract is what it cost. But this whole thing where you just went and got a job at a restaurant, and you were the security for the night, or a bar. I mean, I can't imagine us ever signing. Could you imagine the risk? We could, that's what these guys ever hear of lawsuits? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. But that's why I think there's some loyalty to Dulcet and Twinkie and some of these other ones, is because they're doling out favors. They're doling out money, jobs, and other things. They may not necessarily be corrupt for the cops, but the cops depend upon them, so they turn the other way. That wouldn't be unusual, right? Right, Danny? That wouldn't be unusual.
You look at we did the movie Internal Affairs.
Yeah.
The same basic concept was, the guy running the security, he was having people come in. He was doing favors for other people who would in turn do favors for him at the end. So it's,
yes.
It all ties together, and it's all straight corruption.
But he was also doing murders for hire, right? It was
and Garcia's wife, but
yeah, Garcia's wife.
No, he wishes.
He tried to do Garcia's wife. He didn't quite get there. He implied it. That's why Andy Garcia. I think we're getting off on a tangent, and I think that was Andy Garcia's best role. He's a good actor. I mean, He played in one of the last Godfathers, I think, and he's done some other movies. But I think I really liked him in that movie. The intense, Latino machismo kind of guy, and getting manipulated. But he was going after that corrupt cop, So he was bit like a pit bull in there, but he was easily manipulated because of the machismo. And I don't know, I really thought that was he did a great job in that movie. So he does shoot, and you're right. There's no gun. He gets set up, and it's funny. You get a call, Danny. Yeah, meet me in the bar here at this time. Don't come with anybody, right? I don't know. You're gonna meet an informant like that, or you're gonna have
people around you.
You're gonna have some people. You're gonna check it out, right? But hey, this is a small town. He does take his friend with him, who is ultimately killed. And that whole thing bothers me, right? Because we got to talk about his friend. So his friend sounds like he's from a local PD. He's not from Rivershaw's PD, but he's also the guy that got him into. He's from the sheriff's department, I believe.
Yeah, he got him into another parish.
Yeah, another 8, and some of that stuff is happening in that parish, but he gets killed. They find him. They said he committed suicide. This drove me crazy about this one. It's like, so he's a cop. And this homicide guy comes in who's doing the investigation. Oh, yeah, he's a drunk. He's a mess. He killed himself. And he's working on a case with Tommy Lee Jones, in which Jones is targeted twice. and they dismiss it as a suicide right away. That doesn't fly for me. I mean, even if I didn't like the guy, even if I thought he was a hot mess because he was an alcoholic or had been an alcoholic, there ain't no way I'm letting the thread go if the guy was murdered. And
I think they were trying to imply that that cop he was in the take.
Yeah, well, right. Well, they were sweeping it under the rug, is what I got, Martin. Yeah, I don't know. Even I mean, even with corrupt cops, it's like you don't take out one of my partners, right? Just leave them alone. We'll work around him, But he was, he was working with Robichaud. Robichaud was getting too close. They targeted him, and so they took the one guy out that he trusted. Is what happened. I had a hard time with that because I just can't see that happening without, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so certain guys are corrupt. But there's going to be somebody on that department that's not going to like that, and they're going to dig and they're going to give information. And I have to correct one of Baby Feet's people did give Robichaud information, so it's not like nobody's talking, right? And then he got out of town. Wisely got out of town.
I think he gives the information just to get back at Baby Feet.
Yes,
not because it was the right thing to do.
Well, you know what? That's okay. That happens, right? There's no honor amongst thieves, right? So it's going to happen eventually. That's right, Danny, right? That happens eventually. They might be tight-lipped in that small town, but sooner or later, somebody's going to be pissed off or owe a debt.
It's going to be,
and the easy way to deal with it is just to turn on the guy, right?
It's going to be usually, you pissed me off, so now it's going to be sweet revenge.
Or the wife, right?
Or, yeah.
He's cheating, and I guess if you're going to deal drugs and beat up people and hurt people, cheating isn't out of the realm of possibility here. So we got our FBI detective that is with Tommy Lee Jones, and they're following up on the investigation. I think this is Babe. So what happens is Tommy Lee's daughter is kidnapped by Dulcet, right? He starts getting close. They set up Dulcet. Tommy Lee Jones does. He is the killer, but he sets him up by planting a knife. This is the Louisiana way, I guess. And so Dulcet's response was to, one, get out of jail, and then kidnap Jones's daughter, and then try to barter to get the knife back. And then that would end the case. And of course, Tommy Lee Jones ain't having any of that. You got my daughter, and this is probably the best scene for John Goodman here, where he gets his butt kicked until he finally rolls. I don't know. I think if you're the boss, it's okay for you to roll. Dulcet, you don't have to keep it quiet. You just got to get out of town. but he takes some lumps, and ultimately he gives it up to Tommy Lee Jones. And so here's it is: they got your daughter. You're going to use extraditional methods to find out where your daughter's at, right? Because you know the
Yeah,
possibilities there, right? So I mean, everybody goes, okay, go, John, and even the FBI agent doesn't. Okay, let me go outside here.
let me check on the weather.
Let me check. Yeah, I gotta, check the I gotta soil the sample and see if see if there's lead in here. But this is kind of this is the Hollywood form of justice that we all appreciate, right? This is the Dirty Harry justice that we're okay with, right, Martine?
Yeah, I like how, I like it's not the best. It's curious how Babyfeet takes so long and to understand that he's not talking to a cop anymore. He's talking to a dad.
Yes. Yes.
When he finally clicks on that, they say, "Oh, I better talk."
Yes. Right. I would be okay, so you're the mob boss or whatever, Dulcet's got this. I'm
Retreat?
looking to it's retreat. Let's all right, hey, let's get out of town, let things cool off, like Danny says. The guy didn't come to back to the island for 3 months. Dulcet is killing girls. I'm not in that. I exploit them, I sleep with them, I'm not killing them. And he's got this penchant for killing because it's been going on for time, right? Over time. And he may know some things to my operation, but I'm not going down for murders. I'm out of Dodge. There's no loyalty there, right? And but instead he's loyal to him. In the Dixie Mafia, the real Dixie Mafia, you couldn't tell. You have to take your lumps, right? So maybe that's part of this coming out. But so we got Gambit talks about John Goodman being in the Flintstones. Yes, I didn't even think of that one as one of his shows, but as a good show for John Goodman to play. He played Fred, right?
Yeah, he was Fred
Yes.
Flintstone.
Fred Flintstones, right? So good job. But yeah, so he gets thugged up, or he gets beat up, and of course they're going to go out and it is his daughter, right? And you're right, Martine. Took him a while to figure out that he ain't talking to a cop; he's talking to a father. Yeah, I think we would go to the other room. Hey, go ahead, Danny. We'll get the information on. We'll go look for other evidence somewhere else. So I can't say I heard it.
I was writing in the gate book. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, my head was down. I didn't see what happened. I don't know how he split his lip open. But yeah. But now you see. But even then, it was so two cops. The daughter's kidnapped. I'm sorry. I'm the sheriff. Even if I got some corruption going on, I'm talking to Goodman. Says you better roll over and give this guy whatever he wants because we're getting that daughter back. Because here's the other thing. Dulcet abuses these women, then kills them. So his 9-year-old daughter. I mean, oh yeah, I'd be frantic. I think we all would, right? That's reasonable, and we'd be using the extraditional methods to find him. Now, after they get this information, of course, they go back. They go to get his daughter, right? And this is the interesting part because. Now the FBI agent is surprised by Dulcet, and she shoots Dulcet. I thought this was so. You got this Fed who, because you have to understand. I know Danny knows this, but the audience doesn't know this. It's the FBI who does oversight over local law enforcement. The FBI does oversight over local law enforcement, so they see themselves as. Well, they see themselves in that oversight role, right? And that I don't want to say they see themselves as better than local law enforcement, but that they have to be better than local law enforcement. Does that make sense to you, Danny?
Yeah, it does. That's their responsibility. That's their job. So they have to be a little bit better.
So for me, it's when they end up, like I am enjoying the anti-ICE protests, and there's a reason why. Because the feds, it isn't just the original ones that happened here in LA. It was the FBI's emergency response team that responded to the federal building to took on the rioters. Now, here's the deal. The FBI would look at everything the locals did and determine if they violated anybody's civil rights. So they would look at your stuff and in a microscope and make decisions about you. And what I am liking about the feds being on the front lines is they are now doing what we have to do, street law enforcement, right? Dealing with the violent protesters and dealing with protesters who have a plan to circumvent, and then they have to ratchet up the force to maintain control. This is the feds having to do this now, because normally this is the local cops or the state troopers doing it. Now the feds have to do it. The same thing that they would put you under a microscope for, they are now having to do, right? Because they have to do these. What do you think of that, Danny? I just think, hey, when the rubber meets the road, it isn't quite as black and white as when you get into a courtroom. They try to imply it. So now these guys, because I just was watching one yesterday. So Senator Andy Lee went down to New Jersey and he got pepper sprayed. I think I'm going to do a show on it, but they didn't let me in. They're abusive to all the immigrants, and it was all theater, right? But they pushed the feds to the point where the feds had no choice, and they used pepper spray, and they had to use force to clear the protesters out, all by design. But now they all want to investigate ICE and all the federal authorities doing it and how terrible it is. But it was the same federal authorities that they would bring in to investigate local law enforcement. I just think it's kind of ironic, and the scene kind of plays out that way.
I kind of like it too, because they're finally getting to see what, like you said, we've been dealing with for years and years and years and years. It's different when you're on the other side of the fence, and now they have to figure out, we're not cleaning up our mess. We really got to look at this.
Yeah.
In a serious manner, because with us, they'd come in, they go, yeah, and then they'd do a Derek Chauvin on you, and then get a bunch of liars up on the stand, and
yep.
And that's what happened there. And now they have to sit there and say, we can't hide evidence. We have to show this evidence to make sure our guys are good. So
it's like, okay, the first 3 baton strikes were okay, but that last one, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or pepper spray for these people, okay, but that last one, did you really have to, like I just watched some protesters got her bullhorn right in front of the guy's face, right? He just rips it away from her. Now some people, well, you stole it, that's what would be alleged, right? So, but now it's the feds doing it, right? But think about it, okay, he didn't have any problem hearing you. You're right in front of him, and you're using a bullhorn. So, are you really expressing freedom of speech, or are you causing undue pain due to the intentional pain and disruption? That's exactly what you're doing. It isn't about free speech. So when it's happening to them, now they get to, no, that's not free speech. That's right. That's assault. So, but hey, let's wrap up the movie here. But they'll set, they have to kind of tie these threads together towards the end of the movie, and they don't really. I think they could have done a better job on this. But Dosette is a deputy at the local jail, and he and Twinkie, Ned Beatty's character, are the ones who actually shot the black guy who was leaving. And this is the whole theme where black guy has a relationship with a white woman, even if it's just whistling at her or whatever. And in the past, that was unacceptable in the South. And men were hung and killed. I mean, Emmett Till, I think, is the most famous case that I can remember, right? I think that was in Mississippi, right? And so he came down from Chicago. Allegedly, he hit on a white woman at a store, and he was beaten to death and hung, right? Horrifically. And that's the one they talk about. But that's the theme of what was happening here. But Dulcet is also a serial killer who targets young women. It doesn't say rape, but it's likely rape and murder of young women, and dumps them in the swamps. So that's where the storyline, the storylines here, I think, in the movie intersected. You kind of saw that early on coming, so I think that's a failure of the movie teller. You want that to be, you want people to keep guessing through the movie, right? To keep them engaged. But I already knew that, right? These homicides are going to intersect, right, Danny? And a good movie would have had you kept guessing all the way to the end, right?
I got the same feeling you did. Okay, at first of all, in the very get-go, in the very beginning, Robichaud gets these bones in another parish, and he's in one parish, and he goes to the other parish to do an investigation to let the actor off. on the
Yeah.
DUI. So, and that's kind of weird in the first place. And then the whole flashbacks with the memory thing coming in and out. That's kind of like, okay, I still get it. Where's it going to come together? And I knew it was. You could, I mean, it was. Again, we'll use the word. It was kind of cliche-ish
Yeah.
in a way, because you know it's going to come to bed. And at the end of it didn't tie it like a tight knot. It came together very loosely, and you go, okay, we know it's together. Just like you could have did a better job at that, because it it
Right.
just left you there, going like, really, come on.
So I guess we got so Ned does go down. I think they do. Robichaud says that he is the one. Suddenly he has memories, right? That it was Dulcet, and but Dulcet gets killed, but then they plant a gun on him, right? So the FBI agent is clear. That's a cliche too, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, they plant the other cop, the dead cop, his gun on him, because during the so-called suicide investigation, you know, Robichaud tells the parish cops to get out of the room, and he goes, "Mind if I look around?" And they go, "Sure." He kind of looks around. He knows where his drop weapon is, so he grabs the drop weapon and takes it and puts it in his satchel.
and he
And what's
drops it
funny,
on Dulcet, and it can get traced back to the cop who was killed. So that circle
Hmm.
gets closed. You know what I mean? So he's closing
and
these circles
and the
in my
funny
mind.
part is, the funny part is you're at a suicide scene, a homicide, a dead body scene. You come across a guy that's got a an empty holster, ankle
Right.
holster,
Right.
and no gun. He goes, "Where's the gun?"
Right.
But that's common sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then they talk about Baby Feet. He doesn't get taken down for drugs, or he gets taken down for tax evasion.
Yeah, Al Capone.
Al Capone. Yeah, that's what I thought. I go, okay, so these guys are. Yeah, it's interesting because there is. So I believe he was laundering money through this movie production because he
Of
sold
course
himself
he was.
sold himself as a producer, and that's how he was laundering his money, and that's why he was in town. And they take him down for tax evasion. So it's interesting. I worked how many years? Probably 3-4 years at Universal Studios, and so I would go to the back lot, and I talked to a lot of the folks, and I talked to. I'm a finance guy, so I talked to the finance guys too, and it was interesting how they did the money. So you could spend 50 million on a movie, theoretically make 75, and they would find ways to make it look like a loss through their movie
Hmm.
magic accounting. So it was really interesting because they put on a bunch of charges on the movie just so it looked like it was a loss, right? And because they're doing multiple movies at a time, and so they creative magic. But I was working one night, and this senior accountant guy with Universal at the time, he was all drunk. Him and his partner were drunk. They had developed Universal City Walk, right? And it was losing money. And so they thought they were getting fired. And so they were out drinking. And I said, well, let me drive you guys to a hotel. You guys get a hotel room for the night, right? And they did that. And then I see him about 3 days later. I go, hey, how you guys doing? Forget all that, Pat. The boss doesn't care. He likes it, and we're going to grow it. And they grew it and became very profitable. And then Disney did Downtown Disney and all that other stuff. Other people replicated what they did, but the whole story about movies that made money that really didn't make money. It's just interesting how they do their creative. Because they control the charges, right? So, well, the charges for this studio was technically this, right? Boom. And but hey, they did wrap up. It's kind of sneaky if you have to kind of wrap up at the end to tell story. Well, this happened to this person. This happened to this person. I think they lost opportunities in telling story. I don't know, Martine. What do you think?
About what?
Just that they like, oh well, Baby Feet, he got convicted of this. At the end where they kind of
Ah,
give a narrative, there was opportunities there. They could have did a little more storytelling, and they just kind of do a narrative at the end to tell you what happened to the characters.
I don't know. At that point, I wasn't that involved when I saw the resolution. But yeah, when they took out Doucette, That's it. And anything else was just a side note.
Yeah.
Um, I I mean, clearly, Babyfeet was a red herring in the
Right.
movie. It was a decoy, so you wouldn't think about the other about Doucet as, but nah,
They're all interconnected, but they weren't all
yeah.
doing this. You know what I mean? Like they weren't
Doucet
all in the murder.
was the hub of everything. It
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
purveyor of. Uh, he ties loose ends, and he can take you to a safari in the swamp.
Fine.
Yeah,
Yep. Take you to the crabs. Yep. Yep.
Now in the end, Twinkie Lemoyne. Okay. He was the one that run, what was that, a sugar factory or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing really happened to him at the end of in the movie that I can think of.
Well, they do imply that that he's connected to Dosat.
Yeah, they
and,
got that
and
together.
that
We
he
know
he did the murder for, but yeah, you're right. They don't say that he got. Robichaud ties the loop.
yeah. Robbie Shaw goes to his house and he tells him,
I know.
I know you're going down, but they don't say what happened.
They don't explain that. Yeah.
And
So
what I kind of got at the end of the movie is we go on those the murder of Kelly Drummond, the assassination attempts on Robichaud. Those were I'm thinking those are more of Doucet and Lemoyne than they would be of Babyfeet.
oh yeah, no, I get it absolutely.
And that was my thought process. And I go, and you're just dropping it like this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and because Babyfeet was just into drugs and women, right? You know,
Right.
he's making and laundering the money, right, as best he could. Dosset was a serial killer.
Yeah, well, he was using Babyfeet was using Doucet to launder his money too through the security
Yes.
company.
Yes, and
And,
when I mentioned the Dixie Mafia, that's kind of how they were a loose confederation of criminals that worked together sometimes, but also had their own things going.
Yeah.
And the number one thing you couldn't do was squeal, right? Other than that, they would, they work things out. But yeah, that's what I saw in the movie. But yeah, you're right. They didn't really tie a tight knot on what happened with Twinkie or Ned Beatty's character. But I mean, they do talk about what happened at Baby Feet, which I don't want to say he ends up being a sympathetic character, but he took some lumps, and it wasn't really him involved because I don't think he was involved in the. He knew it could happen, but I don't think it was because even he said, "Hey, I don't know, but there is a property that Dulcet has out in this area.
yeah,
It's going to be anywhere. It's going to be there, right?"
Bad guys know what bad guys do, and bad guys think. It's like
yeah, right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say there's no. I think there's there's a reason why bad guys come forward because there's some things that are being done even they can't.
because they don't want a butt of a shotgun in
there. Well, they don't want to be tied to it, or
they would, especially something like this, kidnap of a kid.
Yeah, they don't want to be tied to it, or it goes too far. It goes too far for them, right? Of course, it would. Somebody that I'm, if even you're in the criminal life, somebody that's killing women. I don't know. I mean, even if it's just taking him out to the swamp and blowing his brains out, that's you got to end that association. That's just the way I see it. And
there's no honor amongst bad guys either.
Yeah, plus you're killing the profit center. Prostitutes make money, right? So I mean, I don't know. So anyway, so it was a lot of loose ends in this movie, but we got a chance to see some pretty good actors do a pretty good job and pull the movie out. So in the end, I would say this is on the plus side in terms of a movie, even though it didn't get the ratings. So, all right, I think that's it for the show today, Martine. I will hopefully see you next week. I know we've been hit and miss on the show, but I'm doing the best I can to hit ever since I started my show. It's where I'm doing 3 a week. It's getting a little challenging. Squeezing 4 shows in, so sometimes this show suffers. But I appreciate Gambit and Jameson sticking around and tuning in whenever we're doing the show. Danny, thank you for joining us again. And remember to catch Janny at your new podcast is
It'll be Bulletproof First Responder, and the actual address for that is at Bulletproof First Responder 7095, all one word. So, and I'll Martine, I'll email you that address.
No, thank you.
So you
All
can
right.
get it in the show notes and wherever. So
Okay. Thank you. I think that's the show for today, Martine. We are done. You can take it away.
Bye, everybody.
Y'all come back now, you hear?